We're going to take a look at an A-level further statistics paper from 2024, and we're going to do question 1 together. This question is fairly straightforward. It's given us the discrete random variable x with the following probability distribution, and it's asked us to find the variance of x and the variance of x squared. This should be fairly simple, and you should all be able to answer this. Question 1, so it's meant to just be a warm-up question. But in case of any doubt, in case you've forgotten how to derive the variance of x, you can actually find that in your statistics tables. Tells us what the expectation is, tells us what the definition of the variance is. So that's very useful. Let's do this question together. Part A there is asking us for the variance of x. We should all know that the variance of x can be written as the expectation of x squared minus the expectation of x all squared. Some of you may occasionally get these two terms swapped, but the useful thing to remember is that the variance is always a positive number. So if you end up with a negative number of a variance, then you know that you've got these two terms the wrong way round. Or you should remember that the squared is always in the inside first, and then on the outside of the expectation of x. So here we need to work out the expectation of x squared and also the expectation of x. From the formula tables or from your memory, you should know that the expectation of x is simply the x terms multiplied by the probability of those terms all added together. So the sum of all of those. So what I'm going to do is to work out the expectation of x. It's simply minus 1 times 0.2 plus 0 times 0.1 plus 1 times 0.2 plus 3 times 0.025 plus 5 times 0.025. This gives us 2. Similarly, we can work out the expectation of x squared, and to work out the expectation of x squared, we need x squared. So let's put that underneath our table. So the square of x, square of minus 1 is 1, square of 0 is 0, square of 1 is 1, and so on. Therefore, the expectation of x squared is 1 times 0.2 plus 0 times 0.1. It's always useful to write out all of these terms, even though you know there's a 0 term there, so that you make sure you get the points for your calculation. And this is 1 times 0.2 plus 9 times 0.25 plus 25 times 0.25. And this gives us 8.9. Therefore, the variance of x is e of x squared inside first, the square, and then the square goes outside, which is 8.9 minus 2 squared, which is 8.9 minus 4, so that's 4.9. So that's the variance of x. Now let's take a look at part B of the question. Part B is asking us to find the variance of x squared. So we might not have come across the definition of the variance of x squared before, but we know that the variance of x equals expectation of x squared minus the expectation of x all squared. So imagine x has now become x squared. So variance of x squared, I'm going to replace x by x squared. So that's the expectation of x squared squared minus the expectation of x squared, this square on the outside. The expectation of x squared squared is simply the expectation of x to the power 4. And we retain this term here. So we know from part A that the expectation of x squared is 8.9. So So we know that this is 8.9. But now we need to be working out expectation of x to the 4. So we need to work out what x to the power 4 is in the table. So let's do that. X to the power 4 is simply x squared squared. I'm squaring my previous numbers. 9 squared, 25 squared is 625. So that gives me, again, what I'm doing here is to work out, to multiply x to the power 4 with this probability, and then add to it this times that, plus this times that, etc. So let's write that out. So that's going to be 1 times 0.2 plus 0 times 0.1 plus 1 times 0.2 plus 81 times 0.25 plus 625 times 0.25. That gets me to 176.9. Therefore, the variance of x squared equals expectation of x to the 4 minus the expectation of x squared, which is 176.9 minus 8.9 squared. And the answer is 97.69. So just a reminder, if you forget how to work out the expected value of x, is actually in the statistics tables. So here, expected value of x is the sum of x multiplied by the probability of x. So expected value of x is the sum of x multiplied by the probability of x. And all of these are actually given in the question. So the good thing is, even if you didn't know, or if you've forgotten about the definition of e of x or the variance of x, you can still work out the answer to this question.